What's up, guys? This is going to be Astro Boy. I am Drakodan. Good to be back at last after a long absence. Really glad to be showing this game again. There's been some development since this was last shown, including a full task of this category, which I've finished, which I will plug afterwards. But we got to do the run before any of that. So I am ready if you are ready, and we can just get going in 3, 2, 1, go. So, Astro Boy, this is a side-scrolling beat-em-up made by Treasure. If you've played any of their other games, like Gunstar Heroes, for instance, on Genesis, you're going to know pretty much what to expect here. Astro has a few different combat mechanics that you can use to progress, like punching, kicking, using finger lasers, machine gunning, and a couple of special attacks. You don't have full access to your toolkit at the start of the game. It's something you have to spec into certain upgrades for, either to be able to use specific abilities or be able to enhance them. And the upgrade system in this game is based on meeting characters, some of which are story events and some of which are optional. And the upgrading is very strictly rooted in this run. Also, there's a lot of random enemy wave locations, as you're seeing here. That's what a lot of this game is based on. It's a lot of wave-based combat, and the way that the game determines if you're able to move on to the next wave is when the previous wave is finished, and the way the game defines if a wave is finished is when the enemy corpses have all left the screen, and they have random trajectories, so there's a little bit of optimization in sometimes scrolling the screen slightly up so that enemies fall off screen sooner. We've also just found our first character that's an optional character, and we are boosting the laser stat as quickly as possible. Laser is by far the highest DPS stat you have in this game. Punch also does give you a firepower boost, but it's not so noticeable, and you need to make significant upgrades in Punch before enemies start taking fewer hits to kill. Whereas Laser is very acutely felt throughout the run, and more importantly, Laser is usable throughout all of the run. The main disadvantage of boosting the Punch stat is that there's a lot of auto-scroller segments in this game where you are flying, and the Punch simply is not usable in those segments. So yeah, enemy randomness being a little unfriendly there, but we can move through this screen fairly quickly. We're able to utilize the boost mechanic to move very quickly through any sets of enemies, pretty much. Whilst you are boosting, Astro is completely intangible, so we'll ignore incoming damage and be able to move through enemies. Now, boost is one of the stats which you can choose to upgrade, the jet stat, and that doesn't make the boost more powerful. What it instead allows you to do is use more consecutive mid-air boosts, so you can chain them together and take a zigzagging pattern in the air. Although that's very useful since the boost is a very fast mode of movement, we don't boost it at all since you can basically bypass the boost limit by being grounded. Your boosts get refreshed every time you touch the ground, so if you never leave the ground, you essentially have infinite boosts for just chaining together for ground movement. And we're getting to see the main special attack that will be used through this run, the arm cannon, which is on R, and it's the highest DPS option you have in the game by a long shot. And it's one of the main reasons why Laser is going to be maximally enhanced as soon as possible. So here's the first boss, Magnemite, and pretty simple strat here. This is the strat that the TAS uses because it's actually very trivial to perform. Just one punch and a laser for each mini phase of this boss. And that's going to be it. The laser really deals very heavy damage to the boss with only a couple of points of investment, and as I say, we're going to max the laser as soon as possible, and it does crazy DPS. You also get to exploit the laser a lot more than you would in certain circumstances because we are playing on easy difficulty. This is a game where running on easy is, in my opinion, very justified. Both because hard is extremely hard, it's difficult to just finish the game on hard, regardless of if you're trying to go fast or not. You have virtually infinite super usage on easy mode, and being able to use supers liberally in certain areas is what really facilitates being able to go fast in a lot of areas. It's surprising how much slower normal and hard are just from not being able to use supers as much as you would like.
Speaking about fast, we got a quick $10 donation by Cannonball Com saying, "Let's go!"
Thank you very much. Please keep them coming in. Great cause we're donating for here. Okay, so first mini-boss in this auto-scroller is just 2 arm cannons, it's going to be down, and just progressing on. So again, when there's enemy waves, it's simply getting the waves off screen as soon as possible in order to load the next waves as soon as possible. Take a damage boost here to line up for just clearing those quickly. I don't bother shooting at this wave because it doesn't actually matter how quickly that wave disappears. That's one of the anomaly waves of the game where, yeah, the game progress isn't affected by how quickly that wave dies. So here's the artificial sun. Gonna start in the corner and use a bit of specific movement here to try and get the first phase to end when it's close to the center of the screen. It needs to move to the center of the screen there to start phase 2. And now we're just gonna mash the arm cannon to burst it down as quickly as possible. So again, because this is a flight segment, you don't have access to the punch stat. So like any points invested into punch are completely wasted in this fight. And there's a lot of fights like this throughout the run, so punch is just not worth the investment. So artificial sun goes down, we're gonna land on this island here, and we're gonna immediately find a lion, which transforms into a robot, because why not? And then we're gonna find 3 animals inside a tire here, because why not? 3 punches as soon as this starts, and an arm cannon is going to tear through this very quickly. And we're going to get another upgrade point from finding a character. Straight into laser again. Now there's 2 potential upgrade points you can get on this screen. I skip one of them because it's just not worth the time to collect it. Whereas this upgrade point is required to progress the story, so we just get to this one as soon as possible. Once again, boost laser. And immediately use an arm cannon to destroy a panel on the wall, which is going to unlock the door at the end of the screen. A little bit mistimed there, but that's fine. So we're going to come across some huge mechs here, but 1 punch and an arm cannon at this upgrade level will take care of them. Because it's going to be 4 are going to drop on me here, but I can boost through them to not get knocked back, because again, you are intangible and invincible whilst you are boosting. Quick finger laser to finish them all there. Now we're going to enter an elevator here. This is one of my least favorite screens in the game, just because of the way the enemies move, and there's an optional upgrade which I want to collect, but it's very easy to miss here because you need to hit a specific part of the wall. Thankfully, the enemies were very cooperative with where they spawned there, so I could just overlap all of that and get this optional upgrade point. There's a lot of upgrade points like that where it's just like attack a specific part of the screen at a specific time. But that being an auto-scroller segment, that's a very easy one to miss. Okay. So there's going to be a slightly precise input here where I'm going to boost to the right, aim left, and wait for the enemies to fall in a certain way. That's like the last frame before I would have taken damage to the enemy falling on me, so that was nice. There's only a short frame window to actually get that without taking damage and kill them fully with the laser blast. So we're fighting the robot from before. This is Pook, who can transform into 4 different animal forms. He's always going to start the fight by cycling through the 4 animal forms he has. So this is either going to be bird or fish. Bird, okay. So the next one is going to be the fish form. And I'm having to time these arm cannons pretty precisely to actually finish the form transitions quickly. With the fish in particular, we'll try and dive under the floor. And if the arm cannon is mistimed, you won't get all the damage to prevent it from going under. And didn't get any additional lion transformations. That's really good. The lion transformation always loses a bit of time because it has a bit of invulnerability when it comes in. So you want to see that as little as possible, and it is completely random. So we're going to deviate from the plan here and actually upgrade Shot for this upgrade point. Shot is going to be the secondary stat that we'll use for the second half of the run. And it is very useful at the start of stage 3 here, the moon. Like, we are on the moon for the 3rd stage. We've been, like, in the city, then flying to a remote island, and now we're on the moon. There is a story to this game, but I'm not going to try to bother to keep up with explaining it because it is very, very convoluted and also involves time travel and changing timelines and doing all sorts. It's extremely convoluted. But there's a lot of stuff that you do in this game and a lot of places that you go. So we've already used the Shot a little here. The screen that I was previously on with the 8 small enemies all spawning at different points of the screen, that's the main reason that we take that single upgrade point into Shot when we do, since it's just easier to take care of the enemies that way. So I don't have any points in Jet, so I'm going to have to just manually jump again here. I'm going to pause buffer here just to make sure I don't miss this enemy, since it's easy to waste a lot of time on that screen needing to find where the last enemies are. I use a little bit of a RNG reducing strat there, where I wait at the bottom of the silo for a few enemies to spawn, so that they all spawn at the same rough spot. That was discovered by Sonic Star, another great runner of this game, a great passer in general. There's also a slight optimization I'm going to be using in certain spots as well, is that for enemies that are too weak to warrant using the arm cannon, since it has a startup time of a couple of seconds every time you use it, if they're too weak to do that, you want to use a punch combo to kill them instead. But for enemies that take more than 4 hits, like a lot of enemies will take 6 hits for instance, it's slightly faster to, rather than let your punch combo finish, like that with the kick, you instead want to cancel the combo after the 3rd hit with a boost and then restart a new combo, simply because the animation is faster, rather than letting the kick go off. So for this goblin mech here, I'm going to use 2 sets of a punch and an arm cannon, and then just a solo 3rd arm cannon. Finish this guy off just before I get hit. Move straight onto this plasma room. So this room is a little like the darkened room in the 2nd stage, in that the reason you can't see freely is because Astro doesn't have enough points in the hypersensor, but since I know where I need to go in the screens, I don't need points in hypersensor. Getting this optional upgrade is actually very important for a very strange reason. When I come onto the next set of enemy waves here, once I get into this section, the game is supposed to lag extremely hard here, but for whatever reason, if you collect the upgrade point that I just got, the lag doesn't occur. I have no idea why this happens, but it just definitively doesn't happen. And it's a lot of lag, like the game lags every other frame. So by getting that upgrade point, you are getting a slight power boost, and you're making that section take half the time it normally would, which is like, I have no idea why it works like that, but it does. So we're going to have 6 enemies at random spawn points here. Not the friendliest start, but if we can have... Okay, that's a good spot to end. Except I'm going to need to wait for the cycle now. That's fine. Little bit of an exploit that I'm going to be using from time to time. It's the closest this game comes to having a glitch, is that when you have a diagonal slope that you come up against, if you boost against it horizontally, you move faster up it than you're supposed to. I assume it's because the game can't force you to move in the direction you're trying to go, so it applies your speed vertically instead. It's a bit weird. It's not exactly a glitch, but this game really doesn't have any glitches or skips. It's the closest you get to having a glitch in this game. So we'll see it here. You just like move very quickly up a slope like that. So coming into Atlas here, just going to start with 2 arm cannons. He's going to fire a huge laser at me, but while you are arm cannoning, you have some selective intangibility to certain kinds of attacks, and his arm cannon is included in that, so you just ignore it. Phase 2, I move him physically into a specific position to start, so that when he boosts through me, he'll end up in the position we started in, because this cutscene forces you to both move to central locations. So by having Atlas end in a specific spot, it just reduces downtime in that cutscene there. So now we're at the South Pole. Like, again, you go to a lot of different locations. And we're here to celebrate the first robot president of a nation. And then this conference is going to be the victim of a terrorist attack of a human terrorist group that doesn't like robots. And like I say, this game has a plot, but it's best to not try and wrap your head around it while you're actually doing a speedrun of the game. It's it's not worth trying to do. So we're going to come into another extended auto-scroller here. All you need to know is that platforms on the left are bad, platforms on the right are good, and they're completely random and I can't control them. If they appear on the left, it's better for them to be lower down, but I want to see as many platforms on the right as I can. But that is all there really is to this segment, so if there's any messages that you'd like to jump in with, now is a perfect time.
Well, a little birdie told me, like, we have an anonymous $10 donation saying happy birthday, Drakodan. Good luck on your run.
Thank you very much.
Troll Warriors rule!
Yes, they do.
And happy birthday from ESA as well.
Thank you guys very much. All right, so not a entirely boring auto-scroller section here, but it is still an auto-scroller section. We've discovered that there is a nuclear tank that is heading to the Antarctic conference, so now we need to go back and intercept it, and that's going to be the stage 4 boss. So a few enemy waves going to be coming up here. Okay, that's pretty good for that wave. That's surprisingly difficult to dispatch that wave in a relatively fast fashion. Didn't get hit by that enemy, that is very good. Two reds there, okay. Gonna be 3 blue enemies from the bottom here, and then get 3 coming from the top. Like, a lot, this is what all of the auto-scroller sections in this game look like. It's just, you always know where enemies are gonna be coming from, so it's just dispatching them as efficiently as possible as they come on. The task, like, maximizes this by just killing everything on the first possible frame, where possible. And the rest of the time when there's nothing to do, I just have Astro bounce around the screen like a DVD logo. And I think at least at one point through the run, he might touch the corner pixel of the screen, but I honestly didn't pay attention to whether that happens while I was making the task. It might do, though. So that might be a fun game to play while you're viewing it. So one big platform here. This warrants an arm cannon usage, because even a full arm cannon doesn't kill this, so definitely need the DPS. So here is the nuclear tank. This is Caribs, and I'm going to start by getting close so that I can actually damage it, because you can't damage targets that are off screen. So start with 2 arm cannons, and then I'm going to go inside his hitbox and take a damage boost. Finger laser down another bubble of the health bar, and finish with another arm cannon. This... What? Okay, I apparently was too far to the right, which forced Astro to turn around. That's strange. But either way, boss is still done. The intention of that damage boosting strat standing inside him is simply to remove an instance of taking damage in the fight, so it's only like a very minor time save, but that's all you really have to work with in this game. As I say, there's no big glitches or tricks or skips in this game, so it's really just all about the minor optimizations in this game. Small enemies spawning from both sides of the screen, being extremely uncooperative there. So I want to just cluster everything up as much as I can to burst them all down with arm cannons where possible. And again, I can't hit stuff that's off screen, so everything needs to be on screen to be hit. And of course, there's one left over, so we'll just do an extra just to get rid of it. That's fine. Moving on to this wave, just go all the way to the right and face left. Something that I'm exploiting here as well is that I mentioned the boost gives you intangibility. A consequence of that is that you can move through enemies, but once you become solid again, Astro and an enemy cannot occupy the same space, so something has to move. And in most cases, it's an enemy that needs to move. If you're like against the screen border, you will snap an enemy into the screen like that. So you can exploit this to get right to the edge of a screen, turn around, and use a screen-wide attack to kill an entire wave of enemies very quickly. That's something that's very exploitable. Again, it's not really a glitch, but it's definitely an exploit. So more auto-scroller action. This is probably the most interesting auto-scroller of the bunch. It's probably the most technical to get right. Going to be taking damage at specific intervals to try and make sure that I can be doing early damage to enemies as soon as they're available, like that. Very nice wave there. That's very fast. Going to have another platform coming from the bottom, which that's fine. So this enemy wave doesn't really matter how quickly I kill it, because the next wave's not going to start until the spike balls are off screen. And the next wave that comes up, again, this is another wave which this does not matter how quickly I kill these enemies, so I'm just going to ignore these entirely. But now the narwhals, I believe is the cannon name that come on screen there, it does matter how quickly you kill those. Same with the ones that are on screen right now, except those are random locations, so sometimes you can't always get in line to shoot them quickly, which is a little unfortunate, but doesn't make a huge difference. Okay, that's fine. So now these spike balls are always going to detonate once you're within a certain proximity of them, so I'm going to use some specific movement to just detonate them as quickly as I can. Start the next wave. 2 platforms. I try and get them closer to the bottom of the screen since they leave the screen slightly sooner. It's not something you have full control over though, like the movement from the platforms is pseudo-random. They loosely track you, but they do have a mind of their own. So 2 arm cannons to finish off these segments of the train, and then once the core opens up, it's going to have a couple of random attacks it can use. That's not a great one, since it goes back in. That's the worst one, since it barely stays out. Hopefully this arm cannon will end it. Okay, that's fine. Didn't get amazing RNG, but didn't get awful RNG there either. So I'm going to boost forward here, 1 finger laser, boost back, use a kick, use another kick to cluster all these guys together, and 1 punch combo should take care of that. So now for these enemy waves, you cannot see where these enemies are spawning because of the foreground layer. They're going to spawn randomly from the left and right sides. So I'm just going to wait for all of them to come on screen. There's 6 at a time. And then boost to the side of the screen and just use the same tactic of using a screen-wide attack to clear them at the same time. Same idea here, except I'm going to use a damage boost to set up the timing on the green enemies. That's fine. That's enough time for all of them to spawn there. 1 more set of enemies here. Okay, take a damage boost, and that'll be fine. So now we come into a quote-unquote boss fight. And there's a reason I say it's a quote-unquote boss fight. I'll just use a couple of arm cannons to push Dead Cross to the side of the screen. I need to be far enough along that he doesn't get pushed off screen by this. Now the Goblin Mech is going to die. And now 1 more arm cannon finishes off Dead Cross. Apparently that's a boss fight, but I don't know. Apparently it's a boss fight. I'll just trust them. So now, on top of all the other events that have been happening in the game that make no sense, now we're going to get transported back in time 30,000 years to a prehistoric civilization. And we have to overthrow a psychic dictator who wants to take over the world. And then that's going to have repercussions for the present timeline. Again, don't try and follow the storyline while you are like actually doing a run. It doesn't help. But it's a very interesting storyline when you're playing casually, and it just makes you like, what? We're gonna... Same tactic again. And same tactic on the next wave, but it's a little finicky since the random mooks that can spawn here, these little shield guys, they can put up their shields, and it completely blocks all incoming damage. They are completely invulnerable to damage while the shield is up. And it's kinda sorta random whether they do it, but it's sometimes predictable as to when you do something that will make them put the shield up, like standing right in front of them. Using a couple of kicks there to try and reduce the variance there. The kick is pretty useful when you have a lot of enemies together, since you get like that sound effect. Whenever you kick an enemy and send them flying across the screen, they turn into projectiles which deal further damage to enemies that they collide with. So when you kick a group of enemies, it's a lot of ricocheting damage across multiple mobs. It's very nice. So now we've got a little bit of a movement screen here. A lot of boosting against the slope. And if you contact these wheels at any point, you get knocked back, and it's a very long recoil animation, so I'm being very careful to not get hit. So now we have Sharaku, the psychic dictator I mentioned. He has a couple of different special attacks, and I'm manipulating him into using a specific attack by being underneath him when the fight begins. This is going to cause some lag in the fight, but more importantly, it's going to prevent him from using a different kind of attack, which causes about 15 seconds of unavoidable downtime. I made a slight mistake there, so I'm going to make sure finish in time with another arm cannon. But yeah, he has a couple of color-coded attacks, and the green one wastes a lot of time as he becomes completely invincible during it. But whilst his red attack is still going on, he can't use a different kind of color-coded attack. So now we're back to the present day, and it's a different timeline, and it's all post-apocalyptic. Full war has broken out between humans and robots, and we have to fight a boss rush of the world's strongest robots. First we got North, the versatile robot. Use a specific strat here where I'm going to take a hit so that I can boost upwards, and this laser is not going to hit me. Selective intangibility during the arm cannon. I can just burst through him. Now we have Denko, the invisible robot. This is supposed to be a very long and drawn-out fight, and I haven't really used the shot yet. I've said it's a very important stat, but I haven't used it yet. So the thing about the shot is, the more it's upgraded, the more it stuns enemies. And Denko is supposed to run away as soon as you deal damage to him, turn invisible, but by stunning him, we can just basically stun lock him and finish the fight right as it begins. And this is going to be the main exploit on the remaining boss fights as well. That by using the shot, the more it gets upgraded, the easier it is to completely stun lock enemies. They don't get to do anything. You just use a shot, a couple of arm cannons, a shot, a couple of arm cannons, and all they can do is sit there and get killed by you. So Brontus is going to bounce around. That's just random, and it does waste time, unfortunately. And then wasting even more time, but now he is forced to open the court. And now we get to start the process. One punch to make sure that the damage is going to line up properly by the end of the fight. So 2 more arm cannons will now finish the fight. I'm going to jump to make sure this one connects. As long as you are at least 1 pixel off the ground, you will connect with Brontus here, but if you're grounded, the arm cannon misses entirely. So you just need to make sure you are airborne at least a little bit. So 1 more point and shot, and this is pretty much maximal upgrades for the purpose of doing DPS in the run. There's 2 more fights. So Epsilon, the aquatic robot. I'm always going to start this fight with a shot to see what Epsilon is doing. Okay, raising the right arm, which means I'm just going to go all in and just arm cannon until he's dead. If he was raising the other arm, I would need to stun lock him to prevent a very dangerous attack that's incoming. Oh, and I got the whale. So that's like a 1 in 3 chance, and now I'm going to lose a couple of seconds here. Because it still hits you after Epsilon dies. And now Astro's going to need to move to the center of the screen as well. That's just... There's a few different random attacks that Epsilon chooses on right arm raising. And of course he chose the time-wasting attack. That's nice. So here's the final boss of the run, Pluto, the world's strongest robot. Okay, starting off with Plasma. Pluto's really random and has a wide arsenal of attacks. So I am... not necessarily going to keep him stun locked here, but I am going to need to move quickly because this plasma attack kills you very quickly if you spend much time connected to it. Oh, I'm just about not being contacted by that. I'll have a bit of selective intangibility here to ignore it. Missiles is very good because there's basically no lag while they're going on. And time is going to be when Pluto's health reaches 0 here, so we are very close to time. I'm fine as long as I boost out of danger, and... time. Yeah, you die pretty quickly in that fight if you don't do anything about getting hit. And then there's a few... you discover another character, yay, I've got another upgrade point, you get a few more cutscenes, and then the world ends completely. And it's like, oh, bad end. And then you get resurrected, and then you start the time-traveling stuff. And again, don't try and follow the storyline. That's the only rule. Don't try and follow the plot. Except when you're playing casually, which you should. It's a great game. Thank you all very much at ESA for the opportunity. Thanks to everyone for the support. Hope you all enjoyed. If anyone is interested in learning this game...
Happy birthday, buddy!
Thanks, yeah.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I forgot this was coming up. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, if anyone wants to learn this game, there is a Discord server, like, you know, every other game. Not super active, but always love helping new runners. This is a surprisingly easy game to just get into. It's not very punishing at all, and yeah, it's pretty lenient. It's a lot of fun. It's very smooth. So, once again, thank you all very much. I will let you all get set up for the next game, and I will catch you all later.
Shout out, right? Like the TAS?
Oh yeah, watch the TAS, it's good. TASvideos.org, or like my YouTube channel and the TAS Videos YouTube channel. Just search Astro Boy TAS and it'll come right up. And it's really, really, really fast. It's like, what was that? 2640. Yeah, it's about like 4 minutes faster than that. 4.5 minutes faster than that. Which doesn't sound like a huge gap for a TAS, but it's a whole ton of RNG manipulation, which is incredibly unreasonable in real time. It's very fast. Thank you all very much, and good luck to the rest of the runners.
Don't go anywhere, you guys. We'll be right back.